Singapore's economic development officials, who are going to be assisting me in educating these American companies on the benefits and challenges of doing business in Asia. Now, why would Singapore want to help American businesses? Of course, they're looking for more investment. And why would the American ambassador in Singapore be traveling to India, Vietnam, and Indonesia, and elsewhere in the future on trade missions? Of course, it's because the United States realizes that today's interdependent economy counts on governments to help support business in relations with other foreign governments. And in this regard, I don't think the government of Singapore or the government of the United States could be any closer in promoting our mutual economic interests and supporting American companies in their efforts here in Asia and Singaporean businesses with their efforts in the United States. So we continue to closely collaborate on those types of trade missions, but of course we're doing so in other places, such as APEC, the WTO, and importantly in negotiations in which what I hope will become the free trade agreement for the 21st century in all of Asia, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Many of you know the TPP is currently a successful but modest four-party trade pact that does not include the United States. But successfully joining the TPP is President Obama's Priority Trade Initiative. And I'm working here with my embassy team to support our negotiating team, very often in partnership at the negotiating table with Singapore's negotiators. Before I conclude my remarks regarding trade, I hope you'll permit me to brag a little bit on my U.S. Embassy team. Just last week, I was informed that we will be the recipient of the Global Award for our efforts promoting the President's National Export Initiative. And we're proud of this recognition. Of course, it's especially important that we were able to do this in the most trade-dependent country in the world, Singapore, but rest assured we intend to redouble our efforts over the next year. So I've now talked about security and military cooperation and trade and investment. But I do want to talk about the third and maybe the most important aspect of the U.S.-Singapore relationship going forward, and that is the people-to-people ties. Our numerous shared values come into clear focus when we consider our cultural and especially in this setting, our educational cooperation and programming. The United States and Singapore strongly value education, believing that a quality education will provide world-class opportunities to their people, another common value. And of course, NUS is renowned for its openness to international students, and as Kishore mentioned in his opening remarks, the Lee Kuan Yew School is certainly following suit with students from how many countries, Kishore?
Almost 50 countries.
Almost 50 countries and 19 from the United States. We're going to work on building that number up. There are very impressive partnerships, of course, in Singapore with the upper crust of American education institutions, Duke, Yale, UCLA, Harvard, MIT, all of the top American schools have some relationship here in Singapore. And more, the links to American universities are being opened up with American faculty, some who are here this evening. They're increasingly being invited by Singapore's flagship schools. And I think what we've seen over the past year, and I mean with all respect, more and more the prize American faculty are accepting those invitations. They're coming to Singapore and they've recognized the shift in the center of gravity in this direction, and they want to be part of this long-standing educational partnership between the United States and these fine schools in Singapore. Of course, the embassy enthusiastically supports these initiatives, and we're going to continue to enhance the traditional educational exchanges. But we're also promoting some, I suppose, less traditional education exchanges, and let me give you just one example. Earlier this year, when one of those aircraft carriers visited Singapore, the USS Abraham Lincoln was visiting, we got together with LKY school professors Anne Florini and Dr. Susanna Kadir to put together a unique program where we matched Dr. Kadir's students in taking a class on women and leadership together with the female commanders on the USS Abraham Lincoln. It was something that had never been done before, but it was so successful that the United States Navy has told us they're now using it as a model for collaboration and similar visits all around the world. And I hope we can capitalize on the spirit of that exchange and our overall shared value of education to further enhance the traditional, but also think of alternative and new ways to take advantage of the resources of both of our countries for purposes of educational exchanges. Now, as I've said, the list of educational partnerships could take all night, and it's always some risk to mention some schools and not others, but I do want to mention the Tisch School at NYU, a film school which has a campus here in Singapore, which confers a New York University degree here in Singapore and has attracted young and aspiring filmmakers from all over the region. I know there's a group of students here from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, which operates a hospitality and management school here in Singapore with, I believe, over 500 students. It may be the largest student body for an American university here in Singapore. All told, there are more than 4,000 Singaporean students studying in American universities today. The number increases every year, and I think for Singaporean families, the gold standard is to go to university at some of our finest institutions. Our student visa issuance this year is up 19% compared to 2010. And interestingly, the number of students going the other way has also increased dramatically. The 19 students from the United States at the Lee Kuan Yew School are included in a group of more than 600 American students who are currently studying in Singapore. And that number continues to increase each and every year. With regard to people traveling between our countries, they move with great ease with the advent of the visa waiver program. More than 100,000 Singaporeans traveled to the United States as tourists in 2010, and the numbers are way ahead in the first half of this year. An incredible more than 415,000 Americans came to Singapore as tourists or on business last year. Again, the numbers are running far ahead in 2011 over last year. The reason I think, of course, this ease of travel is a common language, as we know, and a common culture. So it's no accident that two countries with shared values have people who so easily move back and forth as students, as tourists, and of course, to do business. And those common values, common culture, are reflected, I think, in our successful, trusting friendship based on security and including important commercial ties. The catalog of common values and mutual success brings me to the future. And I believe